And when they were panning to the people in the I don't want to say audience, but the people that were seated, right? When they went to Chris's family, one of them was mic'd up, and they had said like, "Oh, I hope that she's not ugly." And I'm like, what is with this family? What is with this Christian religious family that y'all are so hung up on looks and appearance? Like Chris said it, but so many times last episode and this episode, like, I hope she's not ugly, I hope she's attractive, I hope she's fine. And here comes his family, oh, I hope she's not ugly. Like, why are people, like, I don't understand why they are just so hung up on appearance. There are so many other things that you could be worried about as opposed to what the girl looked like. Like, hey everyone, it's Bree. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back with another video. So I am going to be reviewing this new season of Married at First Sight. I asked you guys on Instagram, were you guys interested in me covering the show on my channel? And a lot of you guys actually said yes. So I am going to be covering the show. I am going to be starting from episode 2. We didn't really I don't feel like I need to review episode 1 much because, well, 1, it was just way too long. I did watch the whole thing, but these episodes have been so long and I feel like they really can be condensed. And normally I wouldn't mind long episodes. I know that when I first started watching Married at First Sight, I did wish that the episodes were longer. But I think it's because I was also more into the people and the personalities. For some reason this season, not to say that I don't like the new cast, the new couples and their personality, but I don't know, I'm not like getting invested like I normally do. So I'm hoping that as the season goes on, like, their storylines become more interesting, because right now, I don't know, I've just been kind of bored with it. But anyway, so I'm going to be covering episode 2, which was titled Hello Stranger. And so you know, I got my notes. So this episode, we started with the weddings. So the first wedding that we started off with was Clara and Ryan. So I know, like, the end of last episode, we started to see them get ready to walk down the aisle, and we saw that Ryan wanted Clara to wear the face mask that said like bride and groom on it, because instead of allowing Clara to see him as she's walking down the aisle, he wanted them to have that moment at the exact same time, which honestly I thought was really, really sweet. I know a lot of people thought that was like kind of weird, and it was kind of weird because it's like, I don't know, because it kind of takes away the ability to kind of like take it all in before you actually get there at the altar. But I think it was really cute, and I think it really showed how excited and like invested he was. And so yeah, when they took their blindfolds off, they actually seemed pleasantly surprised. Like they weren't like they seemed genuinely attracted to each other and excited, which is always a good thing, because the last thing you want is to get to the aisle or get to the altar and then you have one person that's like not attracted, or both people. I don't think we've ever had a situation where both people weren't attracted to each other. I think usually when that happens, it's only like one person. But yeah, it was actually really cool to see that play out. I did really like Ryan's vows, but I'm not gonna lie, they were kind of weird in my opinion, because he kept saying, you know, like, oh, you were there when I got my first apartment, and you were there when I got my first car, and you were there. And I'm like, where is this going? Because, you know, obviously she wasn't there, and I kind of suspected where he was going with it, because I guess he was gonna say like, oh, you were there, like his idea of a wife, or his, I don't know, like I kind of understood where he was going with it, but I don't know, I was confused. But again, at the end, he explained that, like, you know, in spirit, he knew that his wife was always there waiting for him, I guess, or there waiting for him. I guess that's what he was trying to say. But I don't know, just the way that he worded his vows were a little bit weird, because I'm like, she was not there for any of that. But yeah, and Clara's vows are really sweet as well. They did decide to kiss at the altar, so that's always like a big thing every single season, like whether or not people are going to kiss at the altar. Usually it is dependent on if they have mutual attraction to each other, which Ryan and Clara did, but not all the time. Like sometimes, and usually it's with the women, like usually with women, even if they are attracted to their spouse, they just feel a little bit weird kissing a stranger, you know, on the mouth. So they'll do like a kiss on the cheek, or you know, whatever. But they did kiss out the altar, which I figured they would, because they had, like, you know, a lot of chemistry. And I did notice that after the ceremony, so like after that whole thing, they, you know, of course went back and got, you know, the alcohol and stuff, and they seem to really like get along. Like again, they have that chemistry, their conversations flowed really well. I know in the past couple seasons with a lot of the couples, their conversations would just be really weird and awkward, and not like a cute awkward, like what was it, Jessica and Austin. Like they had like a cute awkward exchange, but a lot of times, like after the ceremony, it's like crickets, and they don't really know what to say, or they'll say something that's kind of like weird. And I don't know if that has to do with like editing, because you know, sometimes with editing they can put in pauses that maybe didn't really happen, but it seemed like they really were feeling each other, and they were able to talk to each other comfortably even though they didn't know each other. And I think that that speaks volumes, and that honestly gives me hope that they're gonna make it long term. Now while they were talking after the ceremony, we find out that Ryan is a Gemini, and as soon as Ryan said that, I'm like, yeah, good luck, Clara, because I have dealt with some Gemini men. Yeah. I have like a personal dislike for Gemini men, especially like, you know, in my past, you know, I'm not gonna get into it, but you know, I was very close with a Gemini man before, and he basically destroyed me and my self-esteem. So anyway, because again, they're very split personalities. I've had a lot of friends who are Geminis. My mom is a Gemini, and they're very much so split personality. They could say one thing and have one opinion on Monday, and Tuesday be a completely different person, or say something completely different than they said the other day, and it drives me nuts. So hopefully Clara can handle that, because between Gemini men and Scorpio men, I can't. I literally can't handle it. Anyway, so, and then at the end of their conversation, Ryan had asked Clara what's her biggest fear with this process, and Clara says that she's scared that she's gonna fall in love with Ryan, and Ryan's not gonna love her back. And then of course they cue the creepy music, and they cut right there. I don't think that, I mean, I think that that's a fair fear to have. I think that's a fear that a lot of people have, especially the women who go on the show. A lot of them have that fear that they're going to become attached to their spouse, because you know, they're married, but then they don't know if the man is going to feel the same way. Because again, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times the women tend to fall more head over heels for the guy, and they're a little bit more committed, and they catch feelings quicker. And then men tend to be a little bit more reserved, and they don't really know whether to put their heart into it. But again, I've seen that with the women too. I've seen women literally say in their confessionals that they do feel a sense of love for their spouse, but they're like restricting that. Like they're not gonna say it yet, because you know, they want to still feel everything out. And so I think that's a fair fear to have, and I don't think that Ryan should be concerned about that, if he even was you know, concerned about it. So and now we get to, I think this is going to be one of the most interesting couples this season, as opposed to Paige and, what's that boy's name? What's his name? Chris. Yeah, Paige and Chris. I think between Paige and Chris and Virginia and Erik, they're definitely gonna bring a lot of the drama this season. I can just see it. So Virginia. Oh, Virginia. Okay, so okay. So they get to Virginia and Erik. Erik talks about how he was married before, which I don't think, have they ever chosen someone that's been married before? I know they've chosen people obviously that have been in like serious relationships. Sometimes they choose people who've been in serious relationships right before they go onto the show, like Chris. And so yeah, it's interesting to see that, you know, Erik was once before married, but I wonder if that is going to, I don't know if that's going to benefit him or hurt him. I think it'll have some benefit because at least he kind of has an idea of what marriage looks like and what that commitment looks like. But on the other hand, you don't want to be like compared to a previous relationship that person's been in. So I don't know, but I don't think it's going to cause too much issue because he seems to be really invested into this. Now Virginia. Now we know from the first episode that Virginia is a party animal. She wants to have fun 24/7, 365 days of the year. Like, she is always looking to have a good time. And so of course the first scene that we see of her in this episode is of her wanting to take shots right before her wedding. You don't do that. Like, you definitely don't want to get drunk or be tipsy or anything like that. And some people, a lot of people actually do drink alcohol before their wedding because it's like a thing, you know. Especially like I've seen a lot of like brides and bridesmaids, like they take a sip of wine or whatever in the bridal suite before they head on out to the wedding. So I know it's normal to have like a couple of drinks or whatever with your friends beforehand, but I just don't think it's a good idea because not unless you, again, you know how much to drink and you know what your limit is before you starting to before it starts to like affect you, because you want to be fully aware and coherent when you are at your ceremony, because everyone's watching you. It's your big day and you want it to go the way that you want and you don't want any mistakes. But of course Virginia doesn't care and she starts taking shots, which is typical. And I also want to talk about her and her personality as well, because again, with her being a party animal, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with her wanting to have a good time. I don't think there's anything wrong with having that personality type. And I feel like there's no right or wrong way to do marriage. In my opinion, I feel like marriage is very much so an individual experience. It's in terms of individual couples, and I feel like there's no one way to be in a marriage. Like, marriage is case by case. Whatever works for that couple works for that couple. So if you have a couple who, you know, feels like, you know, it's better to stay at home and watch the kids and not do much, and you have a couple who likes to go out and party. I know, well, I don't know personally, but I've heard of married people going to like the strip club together. Now, people have different dynamics, and I feel like whatever works for y'all and what makes you guys happy is what works. And I don't think that, because there's been a lot of people saying that because Virginia is a party animal, that there's no way this marriage is going to work because she's going to have to calm down and settle down. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think you can be like that and be in a marriage if your partner is also like that, or your partner is okay with you being like that. But Erik doesn't seem like the type that's okay with that type of lifestyle. He seems very, very conservative. His parents are very, very conservative. And so I just think that them two as a dynamic is going to be rough. And as much as I want them to work, I feel like they're just on way too opposite ends of the spectrum. And I understand what the experts were going for. A lot of times they do put people who are polar opposite in order to bring something out of the other person. Just like with Jeffy and Shawnice. Jeffy and Shawnice had a really hard time in their marriage because Jeffy was very reserved, very quiet. He didn't open up as fast as Shawnice wanted him to. And Shawnice was like you know, 1000% in it, very open, very expressive. And so they had a hard time, but eventually they were able to figure out the best dynamic for them. But they're still very much they're still very much two different people. And so I think with this situation, they probably were expecting that because Erik is so reserved, that Virginia would bring out more fun in him, and you know, just bring more excitement to his life. And I guess that they figured that Erik would be able to calm Virginia down. Not that she needs to be calmed down, but and also age has a little bit of a factor into it. Now when it comes to age, I don't believe that just because you're older that you're more mature, and because you're young you're immature. I have met people who are super young, like high school, middle school, who are super mature for their age, and people who are in their 30s and 40s who are super immature. So I don't think that is necessarily a reason for this, but Erik is older and he is more mature, and Virginia is 26 years old, and she acts like a fun, energetic 26-year-old. And I just wonder how that's going to work in the type of marriage that, like, their view of what their definition of a perfect marriage is different for both of them. So I'm concerned that as the season goes on, they're really gonna bump heads with like their lifestyles and stuff like that. But you know, we're still in the suites and the parents start to come in. Now, I know y'all saw that purple streak in Virginia's mom's hair. As soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, that's where she got that personality from. Anytime you have a woman who is of that age with a purple streak in her hair, you know that she is not traditional, I guess you could say. So that definitely caught my eye. But yeah, so they start making their way to the aisle, and Virginia starts getting super cold feet. I think it has partly to do with nerves and partly to do with the fact that she had been drinking, and we really don't know how much she had been drinking either, because again, editing and stuff like that. But I do think that for some reason Virginia started to like psych herself out, but of course eventually she started to calm down, and she went ahead and went down the aisle. Again, they both seem super happy and super content with how the other person looks, which is really, really good. I feel like a lot of these when it comes to Married at First Sight, I do feel like attraction plays a big role in how committed a person is, especially with men. A lot of men aren't going to commit to a woman that they're not attracted to, and I have seen men who try to get past that, but it just ends up not working. Like, a lot of men can't get past attraction, whereas women, we can overlook it. We can overlook it and say, okay, this man has all of these good qualities. This is going to work out for the long run. Excuse me. But for men, it's really hard for them to look past a woman's appearance. And so that's a really good thing that they actually both found themselves to be attractive. And also, oh yeah, and another thing too, when they were saying each other's names, and Erik was like, oh, so what's your name? She said Virginia. I think it was Erik's mom. Yeah, Erik's mom was like Virginia, as in like the state. That was really funny, because I actually said the same thing, because I'm from Virginia. But that was actually really funny when his mom said that. And so one thing I did notice too is, again, Virginia was just very overly emotional. And when I say emotional, I don't mean like crying and things like that, but she just was very, very emotional. Her nerves really got the best of her, and she was like overly giggly the whole time. She kept making these like weird faces, and she just was, I don't know, like, I mean, she seemed like into it and she seemed like happy, but I don't know, I just feel like the alcohol got to her. Like, I feel like the alcohol definitely affected the way that she was acting at her wedding. But I could be wrong. That could just be how Virginia is. So they also kiss at the altar, which I wasn't sure. I knew Virginia was for it. I didn't know if Erik was for it, but Erik did ask Virginia, like, you know, can we kiss? And of course Virginia grabbed Erik's face and kissed him. So it all worked out. And then afterwards, again, like the last couple, they had like some pretty good conversations. It wasn't awkward at all. They seemed pretty comfortable with each other. However, at their photo shoots, Erik had actually mentioned that he was feeling overwhelmed, and I could kind of see it in his face, like when they were talking and when Virginia was saying certain stuff. I could tell that Erik was doing a lot of like nervous smiling and just trying to like go with the flow, but you could tell that he was really out of his element with this. And it's just funny that as Erik is talking about, you know, being overwhelmed with all of this, they cut to Virginia looking for more alcohol. So I'm curious to see next episode how the rest of their wedding is going to go, because they didn't show their reception, I think. At least not like a lot of it. So yeah, I don't know. Virginia, let's just pray for Virginia. she may do a complete 180. You know, sometimes with these couples, we think that we know like if they're gonna make it or not, and then they completely surprise us. Like Miles and Karen from last season. A lot of people thought that they were not gonna make it because a lot of people thought that Karen wasn't attracted to Miles and that they weren't able to get over that hump that they were trying to get past. But now they're together and they're happy and they're lovey-dovey, which they were having a huge problem with that during the show. So you never know. Like, you really never know. So the next couple is Brianna and Vincent. I really, really like this couple. I think Brianna is gorgeous. And whoever her hairstylist was did a phenomenal job. Like, I was in awe just watching her hair get done, and the way that they put the hair in and had her hair like twisted, and like how they were able to blend her real hair with the kinky style texture hair that they put into it. Like, it just looked so good. It looks so good. And her mom looked really, really pretty as well. They talked about how excited and nervous they were. And she also mentioned like not finding Vincent attractive, which again is understandable. A lot of people have that fear because people like attraction, especially in today's society. Attraction means a lot to people. Like how attractive you are to that person, like it does play a big role, especially in marriage, because you're going to be with that person forever. And people do say that attraction fades away as you get older, and that is true. And that's why alongside affection, you need like those other quality traits that make marriage last. And so yeah, so when they got to the altar, just like the other two couples, they found each other attractive, which was really, really good. I don't know, I wasn't sure if Brianna was gonna find Vincent attractive, but she did. And not to say that Vincent isn't attractive, but I just wasn't sure like what her type was and stuff like that. But you know, they seemed pleasantly surprised at the altar, so that was definitely a good thing. So we're 3 for 3 on that. Let's see. And then okay, so we get to the part where the officiant read their like what each family had to say about them. And what I noticed is that so Brianna's family and her little like thing, they said that she is really bossy. And with Vincent's family, they said that he's the type to get things done and let her know afterwards. Now, yes, in the moment, Brianna was like, she seemed impressed with the fact that Vincent kind of takes charge. But I can see this being a big issue. If Brianna is bossy like her family says, and she likes to be in control of everything, and you have Vincent, who is the type of person that takes control without letting people know what he's gonna do, I can see that being like a big thing later on. Because Brianna, even though she probably wants a man who's gonna lead her, she still probably wants some type of say so, and she probably wants to still insert her opinion and like what she like she wants to at least feel like she's a part of any big decisions that they're gonna make. And so it'll be interesting to see like the first big decision that comes up in their marriage and how they're going to handle that, because it seems like they both are like type A personalities, and they both like to have control. And in a marriage, you have to give up control sometimes. It can't always be both people having control. So we'll definitely see how that plays out, because honestly, it could go either two ways. Either Brianna is going to develop enough trust in Vincent to make those decisions, that she's going to feel comfortable enough to take a step back and to let him do his thing, or she's not going to step back at all and she's going to give him a lot of pushback on any decision that he makes. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out further along in the season. So again, 3 for 3. They ended up kissing at the altar. I figured they would, since they both were attracted to each other. And then once again, after that, their conversation seemed to flow. And I love that. Like, I love the fact that they were all comfortable just talking, getting to know each other, and it wasn't like super duper awkward. But even during their photo shoot, Vincent had talked about how they just felt really comfortable around each other, even when they were doing like the different poses and stuff like that for the photo shoot. Like, they just felt really natural to them, and they didn't even really feel like strangers, and that's like great. And I hope that they continue that throughout the show, because even though, yes, you're marrying a stranger, I hate when people like throw that in their spouse's face all the time, like, you know, yeah, we should be doing this, but you're a stranger. Like, I'm glad that all these couples are like really embracing the experiment and saying, listen, yeah, you were a stranger a couple minutes ago, but now we're married, like, we're in this thing. So I really appreciated that. So now we get to the first dances of the night. And they all seem really, really sweet. Clara and Ryan have talked about, apparently they went to a Lil Wayne concert. They were both at the same concert, but of course they hadn't like met yet, which is cool. Virginia and Erik's dance did seem a little bit awkward. You could tell that she was like really putting in a lot of effort to try and make him comfortable. He was trying. Like, Erik is trying, but I just don't know what his limit is going to be to where he's like, okay, this is like a little bit too much. Because even like once they go on the honeymoon and stuff, like that's going to be a time for him to really be a little bit more like fun, I guess, with Virginia. But I think that once they get into the real world, that's when things are gonna like start to change. And then they get to the eating part of the receptions, the dinners and things like that. And Brianna and Vincent start talking about food. And I thought this was really interesting because apparently, you know, Vincent, he, you know, talks about how he loves chicken nuggets, like he loves chicken. And then Brianna's like, oh, I don't eat chicken at all. And as soon as she said that, I was like, uh-oh. Like, I don't know why, but I was like, ooh, like that might be like an issue. But, you know, Vincent actually, you know, embraces that. And he's like, you know, like I could work with that. So I think that that's a good thing as well, that he wasn't like super opposed to that. Because some people won't like even date you if you have like different eating habits, because it makes it hard to like eat together and go out to eat together when you guys are eating different things. So yeah, like I'm glad that he was able to just kind of like embrace that. And then we get to Virginia and Erik's reception, and they're, you know, talking and things like that. And Virginia said that, I think it was her sister, she said her sister is gay, and you know, she acts like, well, she didn't really ask him, but she kind of just like expressed to him that her family is a little bit less traditional and things like that. And, you know, Erik's like, listen, like that's fine, like I don't really care about that stuff. I don't really care how other people live their lives. I just have my own thing, and then they can just do their thing. Don't know how his parents are gonna receive Virginia and her family and maybe her sister's lifestyle, but Erik seems to be cool with it, so that's a really good thing. I think it's important to talk about stuff like that too, because a lot of times the way that you're raised does dictate the way that you operate in your relationships. And so I'm glad that they were having that conversation of how they were raised, their different views and things like that. And so and then we get into the speeches, and I always love the speeches because they seem to be the most interesting and the most like authentic part of the wedding. And I really liked the part when Clara's dad was like, you know, I'm glad I didn't have to pay for this wedding. I thought that was really, really funny and interesting that Lifetime left that in. I mean, obviously we knew that Lifetime paid for the weddings, like, duh, but it's always interesting to see like when networks kind of include that into the show, how, you know, like, yes, like, you know, Lifetime is paying for this, like, I'm not paying for this, and things like that. So then we get to the end of the episode, and that's why I'm really, really anticipating Wednesday, because we're getting to Paige and Chris's wedding, and I hope. Okay, so the camera cut off for some reason, but yeah, I was just getting into Paige and Chris. Well, actually, I was already halfway into it by the time I figured out the camera had freaking cut off. Anyway, going back. So yeah, so we get into Paige and Chris. Yeah, they're definitely going to be a couple that is going to have. Well, I don't want to speak ill on their relationship. It could just be editing, but it seems to me that, I don't know, Chris is just such a character. And I don't know, like, I just haven't been feeling Chris. Because, like, first episode, they really made Chris look just arrogant. Like, very arrogant, very cocky, very full of himself. I'm just not feeling Chris at all. Because all he could talk about is appearance and looks. And, you know, for someone that's such a, you know, man of God and everything, it just seems like he's focused on the wrong things. And so, and don't get me wrong, like, Paige has her stuff too, but Paige seems like a genuine, like, sweet person, and she's like really like fully into this. And it's crazy because even, you know, at the beginning when they're in their suites, you know, all the other brides talked about how nervous they were, and Paige was like, listen, I'm not nervous, like, I know this is gonna go great. You know, she was really, really excited, and she just was like so at peace with it. So I'm really hoping the best for Paige, because she just seems like she's just genuinely in this, and she really wants this to work. And I also love the part where her friend was like, listen, you don't know who this man is. What if he's someone that clips his toenails on the airplane? I thought that was super duper funny. I liked her friend. But yeah, like, Chris isn't my favorite right now. And it's just, but you know, it, as much as it annoys me on a personal level, a lot of men are like this. A lot of men, you know, and I spoke about this earlier in the video, attraction is important to a lot of men. So he's like, listen, if I'm not attracted to her, like, he's basically letting people know up front, if I am not attracted to this woman, my commitment to her, like, it's gonna be hard to commit to her. And it's a shame that, again, with a lot of these marriages that happen on here, that because of the lack of attraction, it doesn't work out, because that person doesn't even want to try with someone they're not attracted to. It's a shame that it's like that, but it's the truth. And so, you know, even though I don't like the fact that he said that, he was being honest. But Chris did actually get Paige a gift. Now, this was interesting because he got her in a necklace that was like the infinity symbol, and apparently she also has that same symbol as her tattoo. And okay, let's pretend like, because when I first watched this, right, I was like, okay, that's really, really sweet. And then Paige was like, oh, this is destined, this is meant to be. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because it's Chris. But maybe it is destined to be. Maybe it did just happen that way. But also, there is a slight possibility that production told Chris, either told him that she had an infinity tattoo, or encouraged him, like, oh, you should get something that's like infinity, because y'all are together forever, because y'all are married. You know, like, I don't know if production maybe has some influence in that, but maybe they didn't, and maybe it was organic. And if it was, then that's, you know, crazy that he got her a necklace to match her tattoo without even knowing her. I think that's super dope if that's the case. And yeah, so we did see them both pray before the wedding, as we've seen in the first episode. They're both very much so religious. It's like a big part of both of their lives. And so that was nice to see as well. I did notice that when they started to seat everybody and actually get into the venue, their wedding looked super empty compared to all the other weddings. And obviously I know like there's a pandemic, it's COVID, it's like restrictions, and maybe they have restrictions on travel. Like maybe a lot of the people that they would have invited to the wedding couldn't come because maybe their country maybe their state isn't allowing travel like that. So maybe that had a factor to it. But I did notice that their wedding seemed the most empty out of all the other weddings. And Chris did introduce himself to Paige's mother, which I always love. I love when the men do that. I think that's really, really nice. And when they were panning to the people in the I don't want to say audience, but the people that were seated, right? When they went to Chris's family, one of them was mic'd up, and they had said like, "Oh, I hope that she's not ugly." And I'm like, what is with this family? What is with this Christian religious family that y'all are so hung up on looks and appearance? Like Chris said it, but so many times last episode and this episode, like, I hope she's not ugly, I hope she's attractive, I hope she's fine. And here comes his family, oh, I hope she's not ugly. Like, why are people, like, I don't understand why they are just so hung up on appearance. There are so many other things that you could be worried about as opposed to what the girl looked like. Like, y'all seen this show before. They're not gonna pick anyone ugly. I don't think there's ever been anyone on this show, man or woman, that was truly ugly. I think everyone that they pick is attractive. Now, everyone that they pick may not be attractive to me, but they normally don't pick ugly people because, and again, like, appearance is subjective. So I don't want to sit up here and say that anyone is ugly, because I don't like when people call me ugly. But I'm just saying, like these experts know that attraction plays a big role in these marriages, and attraction has been one of the main reasons why marriages don't work out. And so I don't think they're going to go out of their way to choose somebody that you wouldn't be attracted to. At least I don't think so. And so I just hate that this is becoming like their storyline already. And I'm hoping that this storyline with her appearance ends next episode. I just, because we see in the preview that the way that they edited it made it seem like as soon as Paige comes out and turns the corner that Chris is disappointed. That's how it's edited. I'm hoping and praying to God that that's not the case and that he actually does find her attractive, because if not, it's going to be a whole thing. And I don't like the way that Lifetime is making Paige look. Like, they're really trying to make it seem like Paige is not attractive because they keep bringing up Chris being worried about it, and then they make a preview that makes it seem as though he doesn't find her attractive. And it's like, why is Lifetime pushing this narrative that this girl isn't pretty? Like, I don't understand. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, maybe because she's dark skinned, but Brianna is dark skinned and she's beautiful, and they didn't have an issue with that, and they didn't try to make it seem like Vincent wouldn't find Brianna attractive. So I don't understand why they keep trying to play Paige like that. Like, Paige is pretty. Like, I don't understand why they're trying to make it seem like this girl ain't cute. Like, I don't know. And mind you, again, I know I'm gonna get some hate for this from the men, but let's keep it real. Like, Chris is out here acting like he the finest man walking when he not. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Chris has no room. Chris has no room to talk about anybody else's appearance. Now, I'm not saying that Chris is ugly either, but Chris is not. He should not have any room or space to talk about anybody else's appearance. Okay? Because, I'm gonna just leave it at that. Like they just need to really stop acting like they're really acting like Chris is here and Paige is here. And no, like that, like, I hope things turn around. I really do hope that he is attracted to her. If he's not, it's gonna be really hard to watch how their dynamic plays out, because again, Paige seems like a really sweet girl, and I don't want her to get her feelings hurt, and I don't want her to I just don't want her to let this affect her and her self-esteem if things don't work out. But yeah, that's about it for this episode. One last thing I did want to say is that I do find it interesting that they chose to do this season in Atlanta, and Atlanta is literally wide open. Like they haven't been shutting down properly or following the like safest protocols when it comes to COVID-19, and I wonder if that is part of the reason why they chose to do a season in Atlanta, because they're able to film and do more stuff in Atlanta because there's not as many restrictions. I wonder if that is the reason. But yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I'm hoping the season picks up. Like I said, I think Virginia and Erik and Paige and Chris are going to make the season interesting, and I like Brianna and Vincent too, but I think that they'll be fine for the most part. But yeah, as always, I'm hoping that most of them make it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, you know, stuff changes, because we all know like things are always great in the beginning, at least most of the time. Most of the times when it comes to the wedding and the honeymoon, things go great. It's when they go back to the real world, start talking about finances and their work lives and things like that, that things really start to get real. And again, they're doing this in a pandemic, so it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. But oh, and also please, I probably should have said this in the beginning, but please refrain from commenting any spoilers, please. I don't like, even if there are reports out there about, you know, like if you know who makes it and who doesn't make it, please don't tell me. Like, please don't tell me. Your comment will get deleted and you will get blocked. Like, I hate when people spoil stuff, like TV shows, movies. It's a shame that, like, even when I am watching, or if there's like a TV show that I didn't get a chance to watch it like the day that it came out, and I gotta catch up on it like the next day or whatever, I'm not able to get on social media at all because people don't know how to keep their mouths shut. That's also part of the reason why I never watched Infinity War, because I didn't get a chance to watch it when it came out, and people just kept spoiling it. Like every single, like I kid you not, I waited like a whole, like, it had been like a whole 2 years after the movie, and people were still talking about it and still spoiling it. And I kept waiting because I wanted to forget the spoiler that I heard, so I can, because I'm sorry, maybe it's just me, I can't enjoy stuff when it's spoiled to me. I can't enjoy it. Like, I already know what's gonna happen. It takes the excitement out of it. I don't want to know what happens, and so I can't stand when people spoil stuff just to be mean and vindictive and feel good about themselves because they spoiled an experience for someone else. So please, even if you hear any news that has nothing to do with them breaking up, like, just I don't want any Married at First Sight news in my comment section. Like, just please don't spoil it. But with that being said, let me know your guys' thoughts about this episode, this season, and what you guys think about all the couples in the comments down below. Like I said, I did this because you guys wanted me to. So if you guys were one of those people who went on my Instagram story and said that you wanted a Married at First Sight review, comment, please comment and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And also too, if you're watching this and you're not like logged into a Gmail account, that's the only way that you're going to be able to like and comment. So I do ask as well that when you guys are watching my videos to watch it when you're logged into an account, so that way you guys are able to like and comment on the video. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video.